In this segment, we're going to look at some everyday practices that help to build partnerships, whether it's our friendships, our relationships with our family, our own families, or professional relationships with families as educators. It's the little things, the almost sometimes unconscious things that we say and that we do and that we don't say and we don't do that help to build the partnerships. So if you two, I'd like for you to think about just some everyday, ordinary practices, things that you do that build partnerships in your everyday practice. Janani, what examples can you think of?
I encourage the parents to text me or call me anytime during the day. So the parents feel comfortable about it. They can call me and contact me and know about their children. Also during the arrival, I make them welcome, and end of the day I will be telling the parents what did the child do verbally and writing, and also the observation I have taken. Also I display family photos, so that during the day the children can look at the family photos and talk about their family, and sharing with the other peers as well.
So it's very much the families are with the children even though they're not with the children during the day.
Yes.
And also that you want those children to feel connected with and to think about their families while they're with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Rukmini, what do you do in your centre that helps families to feel welcomed and to feel as though they're part of it?
Sure. One of the simple things that can be done, and is obviously done but sometimes taken for granted, is providing a family with a physical symbol of their belonging and connection to the centre. This could be as simple as allocating them a locker or a cot or a pigeonhole. These things make people feel connected with the centre and then increase their level of belonging to that service. The other thing that we really value is having openness. And the main way we can have openness is to invite families to actually witness our practices as much as they like. So we share our physical space. This is actually quite possible in our workplace because it's a work-based organisation. Mm-hmm. So due to the proximity, we have a lot of families come and visit us during the day.
As Rukmini said, how the environment is welcoming for the parents to stay back and enjoy their child's experience in care. I always encourage the parents to stay back during drop-off time or picking off time to enjoy their child's learning, as well as in the mornings when they arrive, they are free to go and put the food away in the refrigerator. They feel comfortable even though it's a home environment, but they feel they belong when their child is in care.
So both of you have really talked a lot about belonging. Again, a big concept in the EYLF, but families feeling as strong a sense of belonging as children do. That this is my place, and what goes on here is my business. And you've given lots of good examples of not only how to make them feel comfortable, but letting them know that what goes on is their business too. One of the concepts in the EYLF that's quite interesting to explore is that concept of families as the child's first and most powerful teacher. And I guess the suggestion is that one of the roles that educators have is to reinforce that notion. Obviously, the last thing we need to do is to put extra pressure on families to educate their child. We want families to enjoy and appreciate their child and their child's uniqueness. What are some of the ways that you go about doing that in your interactions and conversations with families?
I guess one of the things we do proactively is we really share the programming methodology with the families. So we engage them in the process of how we program plan. So we rarely find that parents view this as an extra pressure. They in fact want to be quite involved and provide lots of information because they can see the value in the program itself. We write learning stories. We find that these are really simple and very inclusive of people. They're an anecdotal way of just documentation, but they provide so much depth from a program planning perspective. We're also really very, very conscious of giving lots of information to families, not once, not twice, maybe 3 times a day. It just depends on how many times we can connect with them. You will see evidence of this in one of the vignettes where a parent mentions that every educator who has spent time with her child mentions something meaningful about that child. This makes the family feel really involved in the time that the child has spent with us.
So using, from what you said, Rukmini, it seems like using the learning outcomes, which can kind of broaden our ideas of what's important learning, using those learning outcomes as a kind of vehicle for talking to families about their child as an amazing learner, that in itself supports that notion of parents and their important role in their child's life without putting pressure on them. Yeah. What about you, Janani?
When parents arrive to pick up their child, I always share the child's day by encouraging the child to tell the day how her experience was in the care in her own words, if the child is old enough to speak. And I have seen this, it gives a great pleasure to parents to hear it from their own children's words, as well as appreciate and enjoy their child's learning. Also, I set up activities according to the child's home experience. One example I would like to mention, recently one of the child went to the zoo with her parents, and the next day when she arrived, the parent and the child told me about their trip to the zoo. So on that day I set up a few activities based on zoo and read some books such as Handa Surprise. End of the evening, when the parent arrived, the child told the parent how much she enjoyed the book and she wanted to borrow the book home. So when they left with the book, the next day the mother sent me the zoo photos for me to put it in the children's portfolio. This is about connecting child's life with my early childhood setting, as well as for parents to just appreciate and enjoy their child being a parent. Yeah.
And it's a great example of working together with a family to enrich a child's learning experience. Because you shared some things and the parents shared some things with you,
Yes.
and so the outcomes, the learning, the pleasure of the experience was greater for the child because of the communication you had with the family. We talked in a previous segment about differences and even conflicts, and that sometimes it's necessary to negotiate the child's experience. But the EYLF asks educators to go beyond that and to engage as much as we can in shared decision making with families. The ECA Code of Ethics also invites or requires educators to do that, to whenever you can, to make decisions together with families and with children about the child's experience. We're going to see a vignette now of a conversation, Rukmini, that you had with a parent about a decision about a child's experience that needed to be negotiated. And after we see that, I'd ask you if you'd like to make some comments about that.
I've been thinking, obviously, since Derek's turned 3 at the start of the year. We've been thinking for a little while, but he's been so happy in there, and there's quite a good peer group that he's got going there. So I didn't want to initiate anything. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it at all. But what are your thoughts? Are you thinking at all about moving up, and have you had any thoughts about it?
I had considered it, but these are my views.
Yeah.
Derek has now completely toilet trained only recently, about a month ago.
Yeah.
He's quite happy in the toddler's room.
Yeah.
He's made some good friends.
Yeah.
My previous experience, as you know, David, his elder brother, who's now 10, was at this childcare centre.
Yeah.
With my previous experience with David, they're both very similar in terms of activity and very full-on, vital kids. With David, I found it was too soon for him to go to kinder.
Sure.
There was nowhere else for him to go above that.
Yes.
So my view for Derek, is that he stays in the child's
Yes.
room. After all, it's only about 4 months.
Absolutely.
left. And
Yeah.
it gives him something new
Yes.
in the new year, a new
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
something
I
exciting.
agree. Yeah.
And he's at this stage where his development is in transition. So
Sure.
I think if he needs to be engaged a bit more, I think he has the opportunity
Yeah.
to visit.
They get a lot of
the room.
exposure to it, and you know how it operates here. He can go there and he choose to go there at any
Yeah.
stage, and even outdoors they get to mix with the older children.
Yeah,
Those
my
are all
other
the-
view is that I don't think it's detrimental for him to stay in the toddler's
Absolutely.
room, even though I think he's ready for the
Sure.
kinder. Mainly because I think he's able to share his articulation, his speech
Yeah.
with the younger children in toddlers.
Absolutely.
And there's enough there for him to do.
And there's so many advantages for the younger children to have something like that.
So my
there
view,
as well.
my view is I think Derek is quite
happy for
happy
him to-
with.
yeah.
I'm happy for
Yeah.
him to stay on.
Sure.
And then we move it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way it's something fresh,
Yeah.
exciting
Absolutely.
for him, a new space.
And obviously he'll be having his preschool year next year. So
Yeah, we
you know,
intend to do
Sure.
the kindergarten aspect of his development.
Yeah, sure.
Which will offer
Yeah,
that
yeah,
long
we have
term.
that in there, and that was the other thing, that I wanted to make sure that that's also something that you've considered, and then next year you'll
Yes.
enroll for that.
I tossed with the idea of taking him to a different kinder
Sure.
organisation, but this is a built-in system. It's quite convenient.
Yeah. And it's lovely with consistency. It's there's lots of research to say that consistency really enhances their learning. So he'll be great. That's fine. I also had another thought. We talked about with another child in the room, like if there was an opportunity for them to move towards the end of the year, but with a peer group, like a few of them can move up at the same time, 2 or so, then at least it just maintains that little support structure they had as a transition for the new year. But we'll, if it comes to that, we'll talk about it closer to the time. But
I
at
think
the
let's
moment, I
review
know,
it
yeah,
when that
absolutely.
opportunity
Yeah,
presents
you're happy
itself.
for him to
Yeah.
stay in there for now, so I think that's really good. And also the staff know and the children know that that's their stable, consistent group, which has been really nice over here.
My past experience, as you know,
Yeah.
with this organisation, with my eldest child who was here,
Yeah.
it was last year in 2005, and
Yeah.
it's been a 5-year gap
Yeah.
between the two children. And my previous experience is that end of the year thing is usually a nice transition period
Yes.
where they may spend 2 days
Yeah,
in the kinder
little
and
bit
3
of a
days in
slow-
toddler, and
Yeah.
ditto with the younger ones coming
Sure.
up from the babies.
Yeah.
I found that worked quite well.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting for the child.
Yeah.
Different groups, different exposure.
Lovely.
Rukmini, would you like to make any comments about that conversation that we just saw that you had with a parent?
Sure. We're trying to negotiate an issue that comes up from time to time. This is about moving a child up to another room. I think one of the main ways to come to a shared outcome, which is, suits all parties, is basically to have open discussion, open and honest conversation, which is what we've tried to have here. And this always builds effective partnerships. We should have a comprehensive understanding of all the issues that might arise, so that we can base our professional judgment on that. These complex issues come up from time to time, but if we have no preconceived notions, we can discuss them with families and we can come to good shared outcomes.
And I guess it means, and this is probably the conversation that we just saw as a good example of how you can't always accommodate everything a family wants. You can't always even do what you'd like to do because there are financial constraints, there are all sorts of constraints. But the principle, I suppose, is that whenever you can, whenever there's a choice, that it's important to have that discussion and to have that negotiation and to respect, even when you can't do what a parent wants, when the outcome isn't exactly what the parent asked for or what the parent would prefer, that you still want to know it and you respect that and you try to understand it.
That's
yeah.
correct. And you can also have, if you're open about all the options and have that effective partnership, you can talk that through and come up with a good solution.
Yeah.